What's up, guys? It's Tajae here, back with another Last of Us Part 2 Countdown Series video. And today we are now 16 days away from the release of The Last of Us Part 2. Now, if you guys watched yesterday's episode, you know that yesterday was actually June 1st, and that was the day that the embargo dropped for the first impressions for The Last of Us, where Games Media got to give us impressions. And I pretty much went over and said that they were all great, and none of them involve spoilers, so you guys should go check them out. And I did promise that I would go through as many videos and articles as I can, and different tweets, and gather up all the different new facts that we know about the game now that we didn't know before the embargo dropped, just so you guys don't have to go search all through the internet and look for things yourself. I will also be leaving links inside the description to all the sources that I'm getting this information from, just so you can go ahead and go watch the videos or, you know, read the pieces of information yourself. Now, without further ado, let's get right into the video. So first, I want to start off with insights that we have got from Grizz Gaming over on YouTube. His impressions consisted of the hardest difficulty inside The Last of Us Part 2. Now, the reason why I find this so interesting is because I myself went to go into the hardest difficulty indeed, and he actually confirmed that Survivor is the hardest difficulty inside The Last of Us Part 2, and Grounded will be coming later inside of a patch. Also, a quick thing to note is that in The Last of Us Part 2, you can play on the hardest difficulty right off rip, that being Survivor, without actually having to play a prerequisite to unlock the hardest. Now, we do know in most Naughty Dog games, you do have to play on hard to unlock the hardest game mode, but in this game that does not exist, it's available again right off the start. Another thing that he touched on is that listen mode is available inside Survivor difficulty on this game. If you guys played Survivor or Onward inside the first Last of Us, you do know that they disabled listen mode, but in this game it's still active. So if you're into that type of thing, you will still have listen mode inside the hardest game mode. Enemies are also very much so more aware inside the Survivor difficulty. Now, we could have made assumptions of this, but he actually went through and explained that enemies search much more thoroughly. Rather that's looking under a car, looking inside the grass, going through squeeze throughs, they pretty much go through and search the environment more than they would on the normal difficulty. They also, inside their set paths, or like where they walk around and search around, they tend to turn around and look behind them at times, because we are going to be trying to stealth kill them, which would require us to sneak up behind the enemy. So if they're turning around, it would make it harder on us to actually get off the kill, and I appreciate that. That adds like another realism to the gameplay. Of course, we're going to have access to less materials inside the world whenever we're looting, as well as he also touched on the fact that you can craft arrows now. He says it's very useful due to the fact that whenever you shoot arrows in this game on the hardest difficulty, they usually tend to break more often than they would on normal. So the fact that you can craft arrows is another cool addition that, one, I actually didn't know about, and two, would help on this difficulty. So big dubs to that. Now I want to touch on the boy Gene Park, who's actually a video games reporter for the Washington Post, and he gave a pretty cool insight to us regards to like the loading times of the game, as well as like how loud the PlayStation gets. So pretty much he went on to explain that The Last of Us Part 2 has long loading times whenever you're actually booting up the game, but once you have loaded inside that experience, whenever you're actually going through the game, there's pretty much no loading times at all. It's pretty smooth transitions. He also explains that whenever you die and restart from a checkpoint, the loading screens are actually not that long, like you restart within seconds. And for the fan, which is the question that everybody wants to know, he was actually playing on the PlayStation 4 Pro, and he said his fans exceeded to fairly loud volumes, but he did note that he had the old PS4 Pro, so yeah, take that however you take it. And he does have a friend who works with them who's playing on the newer model, and she said hers was more quieter. So I do have the old PS4 Pro, so my fan is probably going to exceed the levels that are probably going to be annoying, I guess, since he did say his got pretty loud. But I'd have to assume if you have a base PS4 model, your PlayStation is going to take flight, so get ready for that. He also gave a pretty cool synopsis of what he thinks of the game's combat thus far, but I'm going to save that until later on in the video. Game Informer actually dropped an article that had 15 facts about The Last of Us Part 2. Now, most of these I feel like weren't really necessary to be added into the video except for 2 of them, and that's the fact that you can have 20 manual saves inside this game plus 1 autosave. Also, the difficulty in this game is highly customizable. For instance, you can fine-tune specific elements of the experience, like how much damage Ellie takes, how perceptive enemies are, and how plentiful resources are in the world. So the game's not actually tied down to easy, normal, hard, survivor, or whatnot. You could have a more in-depth approach and fine-tune the difficulty to your likings. Now, you already know we had to include the boys over at Digital Foundry. They actually confirmed that the game runs at 1440p at a locked 30 frames per second on the PlayStation 4 Pro, and on the base PS4, of course, is going to be 1080p, 30 frames. And then also, just a quick little extra side bonus thing that they said in their video that I thought was kind of interesting is that to open up your crafting menu on The Last of Us Part 2 is no longer the touchpad. It's actually now assigned to up on the D-pad. I know that's not anything really significant, but I thought it was just, you know, something cool that I caught that they said. good, so why not throw it inside the video? Then we also had Greg Miller, who gave quite a bit of insight within his preview. He talked for like an hour over the game. It was actually really good stuff, but the key pointers I want to take out is that now at crafting tables you can actually be attacked while you're in a crafting table. He doesn't know if it's just one scripted moment or if it could happen throughout the game multiple times, but that's possible. He also explains that the dodge mechanic inside the game works by tapping the run button, which would be L1, and you could control the direction of your dodges by, of course, using the left stick. He says shiv doors are now locked doors, so instead of you having like a shiv and you unlock the door, now it's like a locked door, and you have environmental puzzles and you have to figure out how to get into the room, which I think is better than just using and crafting a shiv, because I feel like it adds another level to the gameplay. And then finally, something that sounds like it's new, even though it's really technically not, since it was inside the first game, is the stalkers. Now the reason why I want to say stalkers is like a brand new infected for The Last of Us Part 2 is because they completely evolved how the stalkers work. They play a lot more stealth, they sneak up behind you, they crawl on all fours, they make screeching noises. Like, they play very different from how we got to see them inside Part 1. So I have to say that I'm very excited to see how stalkers work inside this game, because I feel like they will make infected encounters much more difficult. And as I said, I feel like The Last of Us was lacking in infected encounters. I know this is a game about the people that live in this world, but I really want to see like the stakes and, you know, the dangers of the infected and the toll that they have on the people that are living again in this world. So that's pretty much all the new facts that we got from the impressions. But before we get out of here, I want to go back to Gene Park and read off some of his impressions, because I kind of, you know, highly appreciated what he had to say. He said, "Combat feels addictive and powerful. This is Indie's best new melee system. A shoulder button causes Ellie to really dodge realistically and naturally to attacks. Every open fight feels like a mad violent scramble." He also states that this is Indie's best stealth system yet. Entire encounters can be done silently. I even found myself doing some ghost challenges, not even engaging a single enemy and only using distractions. Ellie has a lot of tools to basically become an urban ninja. Also, something that I like about Gene Park is that he actually discloses that he did see all of the leaks that were out there, and they pretty much diminished his hype for the game. But what's very interesting is that yesterday he actually tweeted out that he's going to just play The Last of Us 2 again. And if you're going to replay a game again, I'm pretty sure you can assume that you like it, as well as he did subscribe to my YouTube channel. As you guys know, I have been covering The Last of Us Part 2 very heavily, and for him to subscribe for a Last of Us Part 2 channel, maybe he likes the game. I mean, he can't say, we will never really know until June 12th, but I mean, it's looking pretty good. So yo, Gene Park, if you're watching this video, what's good, my guy? Can't wait to get my hands on. Much love. But yeah, they'll fully conclude all the new details that we got from the impressions. We are again only 16 days away from the official release of The Last of Us Part 2. So if you enjoyed the video, please be sure to leave a like, as well as subscribe to the channel with post notifications on to stay up to date with The Last of Us Part 2 countdown series. And I'll see you guys tomorrow with another banger.